And hello, and we're back, and it's been a while. I apologize for that, but we've had a lot of things happening. Uh, it's been almost 3 months for me with the kidney thingy, and so far so good. It is an advantage to getting a kidney transplant, and there are some backtracks. Um, Now I can eat things that I want to eat. I couldn't before, because on a kidney diet, you are limited to this. And on a diabetic diet, you're limited to that. Now, to show you what that means, by the way, today's going to be show and tell. So everybody sit on the floor, in nice circles, and take your thumbs out of your mouths, stuff like that. Okay. Two things you can't have when you're on dialysis is phosphorus and potassium. To everybody who walks around with, two healthy kidneys, it's not an issue because the kidneys get rid of it. When you're on dialysis, I was on 5 times a week, 2.5 hours. So it was like 12.5 hours, which is half an hour more than if you come 3 days a week for 4 hours. And even then, coming for 12.5 hours a week, that only removes so much from your system, and that removes about 12% over a week that your kidney will do on a full day. So, anyway, so you can't have phosphorus because dialysis doesn't get rid of enough of it, and my phosphorus levels were like through the roof. So I have here. This is the low phosphorus diet. Okay, so stuff on this side you can have. Stuff on this side you can't have. And the same thing goes, you got the other side of it. Take a look at what you can't have. Okay? So, stuff on this side is like hands off. Stuff on this side is, okay, you can eat this. So, things you can't have: scallops, mussels, oysters, clams, caviar, fish, processed meats and organ meats, cheese whiz, in fact cheese, period. Chocolate, period. Coffee whitener, cream, well, anything dairy. Can't have it. Things you can have: shrimp, lobster. I don't like either one. Fish, meat, poultry. Rice milk, not bad. I didn't like it at first, but it's not bad. I mean, if you can't have milk, it's really good. And then you will notice by this sheet, okay, everything on the left is brown. Everything on the right is white. Sorry, I have that backwards. Everything on the left is white, and everything on the right is brown. So, the good stuff you can't eat. So that's brown bread, brown this, brown rice, brown multigrain, pumpernickel, chocolate, Coke, because Coke has crap loads of phosphoric acid, all kinds of crackers, all kinds of nuts and seeds and beans and peas. You can't have any peanut butter. You can't have any of that stuff. What can you eat? Well, you can eat white stuff. White rice, white this, white that, white bread, white buns, white English muffin, pancakes, cornflakes, cream of rice, cream of wheat, honey, oil, jam, soda. You can have white cake, white pound cake, white pie, white, everything white. Now, if you're on a diabetic diet, You can't have white, you have to have brown. And see how that works. It's like a Venn diagram the Venn diagrams don't usually overlap. These don't overlap at all. So what you're left with is celery, which has too much salt. That's phosphorus. This is potassium. Okay? And it's essentially the phosphorus diet, but with more stuff. Like there's vegetables. You can have anything green, pretty much. Broccoli, cabbage, celery, cucumber, eggplant, mushrooms, onions, peppers. What you can't have: bok choy, boiled celery, chicory greens, bitter melon, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, artichoke. I wouldn't touch those anyway with a 10-foot pole. But potatoes contain a lot of potassium. Okay, and milk and cheese, and again the whole routine. You can have applesauce, blueberries, blackberries, crabapple, lemon, limes, pineapple, raspberries. You can't have bananas. I like bananas. I don't, more than any other fruit, I guess. Durian, like I would have durian. Oranges. You can't have oranges. I like oranges. Persimmon, pomegranate. Well, can take it or leave it. Starfruit. And dairy. All milk products contain potassium. This includes everything. You can have 3 per week. Okay, so that's this diet. Okay. So that's what you do when you're on dialysis. And you basically can't have what you really like, and you can only eat what you don't like. Wonderful. And so with a kidney, now, you can only have 1 liter of fluid a day. That includes drinks, soups, anything liquid, because you build up fluids. And there was one lady at a dialysis that had both kidneys removed because of kidney cancer or something like that. So she had no way of getting rid of any kind of fluid in her system except dialysis. And you gain a lot of weight and you get very puffy. So there was that. And she had one weakness, and she lived where she lived. She had a fridge that made ice, and that was her addiction, was ice. And I enjoyed crushed ice. The crushed ice they have at hospitals and dialysis centers is the greatest crushed ice on the planet. It's not really like you take ice out of the freezer and you bang it up and that's your crushed ice. That's really hard ice. The regular crushed ice is like, once you start it, you just keep on going, you get more and more cupfuls, and you go through that. And of course you take a cup of ice into the dialysis and they scream at you because you're putting fluid into your system that they then have to take out. So, anyway, and some of you may have noticed I haven't shaved for a week. This is what I get out of a week, okay? One of my sons has this after a half an hour after shaving. So, this is nothing. I mean, I could probably not shave for a month, and you probably wouldn't see it from where you're sitting. So I was thinking of growing a beard. Now, this is show and tell time. Some of you may have seen this picture. All right. That is me at the age of 20, conducting the Toronto Youth Symphony at what used to be called the Forum in Ontario Place. I am dressed impeccably in a suit that does not match the shirt, that does not match the bow tie. That was the game at the time. You dress in unmatched stuff. I mean, I had a tux with the bow tie and the whole thing. But for that one piece or two pieces, we had to get dressed up like that. So there were two conductors actually that shared the show. I did most of the music, and he did the part of it. But this was the Toronto Youth Symphony, the National Youth Orchestra of Canada. That's what it was. And that was the orchestra that I did play in. I played timpani in that. And that was at the age of 20. And then at this point, I was already playing in the Toronto Symphony Orchestra as the extra percussionist and second timpanist. That's the drums. Okay. So, and to show now, for those of you who were in the school when Mr. Hill was the principal, that would be later on, 2009 to 2012 or 2013, something along that line. Anyway, we meet, and he looks at me, and I said to him, I'm Paul Kaplan. I'm the music teacher. He looks at me. He says, I know you. We met before. We used to play in the Toronto Youth Symphony together. I said, that's where I recognized you from, because he was this tallish, skinny violinist. That's where we know. So we go back to 1970. And I think I've shown you this before. We made a record. Okay. That was done at Christmas 1970, December 30th, 70-71 season. The conductor actually did look like this. Jacob Grube was a short, chubby gentleman who really founded the orchestra. He started the orchestra. And then several years later, because of ill health, he had to retire. Ultimately, he passed away a few years later. And that's when the Toronto Symphony Youth Orchestra came to be, sponsored exclusively by the Toronto Symphony. And I played in the first 2 years of that orchestra under Victor Felbril. He was the conductor. Anyway, to show you how far back we go, let's see if that focuses. Autofocus. Come on, do your stuff. There we go. Under percussion. Where's my finger? Right there. Percussion, Paul Kaplan. And if we look over here, on this side, Peter Hill. First violin. So, we were both in this orchestra together, and Jacob Grube was a wonderful conductor. And he basically set the standard as I moved through different orchestras: Toronto Symphony, the National Arts Centre Orchestra in Ottawa, Thunder Bay Symphony, Montreal Symphony. I played in all of them. And you went through a myriad of different conductors, and some were wonderful, and some were, they were terrible. I told you about the Hungarian conductor, and Tibor Polgar. My name is Tibor Polgar. I am from Hungary. This is the one he would say, okay, we start at bar 143. This is the bar after 142. That kind of thing. We had all kinds of conductors, and that was really fun. That's one of the things about being in an orchestra, is you have the pleasure of dealing with these egomaniacs on the podium, waving a stick around. And especially if it's a youth orchestra, because those are people up to the age of 22, 14 to 22. When I in this orchestra, I was 16. Well, both Mr. Hill and I were 16. He might have been a bit older. Yeah, he was a little bit older. And from that came this. Handsome, debonair, skinny And because we were outside and my eyes are sensitive to light, I had those photo gray glasses on, which sucked. Um, so I learned how to conduct by watching other people conduct, um, and what to do and what not to do. And then we had one gentleman who was a legend, one of the greatest conductors of the 20th century, Eric Leinsdorf. And Eric conducted with no baton, drawing geodesic shapes in the air. And we were supposed to interpret them as the downbeat and the second beat. That was when I was in the Toronto Symphony. We didn't do a very good job. He didn't like us, and we didn't like him. So it was, in fact, when he left, and he was at the stage door, heading to a taxi to go to the wherever airport, and I stopped him and I said, "Meister Leinsdorf, can I have your autograph?" And he looked at me and went, "I don't sign autographs," and out the door. And he was a Boston Symphony conductor for 25 years. How they put up with them, I don't know. Anyway, so in other news, I think I may have said in the last episode that we had that my wife she had a fall and the vertebrae in her neck got squashed. And about a month or so later, she started losing the feeling in her hands and feet to the point where she couldn't hold anything and she couldn't walk. And so she had an MRI of her neck and immediately had surgery within a week on her neck. It was that critical. So it's now been about 6 weeks later, and she's fine. She's walking properly. It was a success. So she's using her hands more. She can walk without a cane. She was using a walker before, and barely that. She couldn't. Her right leg basically was dead. She had trouble getting in and out of a car. So far, so good. So this is 6 weeks later. So we're both on the mend at the same time. But two surgeries within weeks of each other. I was in hospital for about almost 2 weeks, and she was in hospital. She was in hospital and rehab for more than a month. So naturally, we had wild parties here every night. No, we didn't. We thought about it though, but we didn't. So there's that. So she's on the mend. She's doing well. I've lost a lot of weight. I was 86 or 87 or 88 kilos at during dialysis. I now am down to 72, 73, which is a lot of weight lost, and I've lost a lot of muscle. And apparently, some of the medications that I'm taking, it's one of the side effects is you're tired, you're cold, you lose weight, and you lose muscle tone, amongst others. Like, you're taking a pill for anti-rejection, and, oh, by the way, it might cause cancer. Another pill I'm taking is there's 3 different anti-rejection drugs. So far so good. They're working well. Like, my kidney hasn't said, let me out, let me out. Or better yet, the body hasn't said, get out of here, get out of here. So everything is fine. Do I feel different? I feel tired. It'll be 3 months, April 10th. So far so good. And with the whole mask coming off, well, I don't take off my mask. I go out, I wear the mask. It's annoying as hell, but because I am now immune resistant, okay, so that means I have to be careful. No rubbing cheek by cheek in a crowd. So we'll see. I can go shopping, but stay away from people. Have they met me? Anyway, hope all you guys are doing well, and I haven't heard. It's been a while since I've been away, but a lot of things have been happening here. For example, for my wife, because she had trouble walking and using a walker and everything, we'd built a ramp in front of the house and a ramp into the house, and then side rails on each staircase, because we have 2 flights of stairs. So we had 1 rail. We installed a 2nd rail all the way up, just to try and make life easier for her. And it helped. Those things helped. So if you come to the house, you'll see this ramp in front of the house. And it's fun in the winter, although there are skid strips on it. If it gets icy, grab your sled. And we have steps too, but we have steps on one side, ramp on the other. But now nobody uses the ramp and the steps. Everybody uses the ramp. It's kind of cool. Yeah. Next video I want to focus more on school stuff. There's a couple of Facebook pages on the History of Malton and the school itself, and I keep seeing pictures of former teachers and former students and where they are now. And the first thought that goes through my mind, remember, when I was seeing you guys, how old were you? Between 14 and 18? And I may have seen some of you at some point in time later on. I mean, you're probably looking at this going, God, he looks old. Well, yeah, I am. But then I look at you guys, and I have in my mind the image of you as a 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, in some cases 19, 20, 21 year olds. Those of you who graduated or pseudo-graduated or thought you graduated or almost graduated or, something like that. And that's the picture I have in my mind of you guys. And then I've met a few people, and the first thing that goes through my mind is, are you old? And so, yeah. But some of you don't change. Like you look exactly the way you did back then. And some of you, you look like your parents. In Parents' Night, I remember I have a picture memory of what your parents looked like and spoke like. And a couple of students, when I saw them and they had their pictures on Facebook, and they're now 40, 50-something years old, and I look at them and I go, that's the parent I spoke to that Parents' Night when they were 14. That's what they looked like. That's what the parents look like. They become their parents. So, I don't know. Maybe that's good, maybe that isn't. Yeah. That's about all I want to do today. Just an update and keeping in touch with people. Oh yeah, the slap heard around the world yesterday with Will Smith smacking Chris Rock. I would have done it a little differently. I mean, Will Smith's wife has a condition, a medical condition, and Chris Rock should have known better. Do your due diligence before you crack a joke. He likes to push buttons, and he pushed a button, and he got as my mother would say, a schmeißen punum, a smack in the face. Although what I would have done if I were Will Smith is I would have gone up to the microphone, pushed him over to one side, and embarrassed the hell out of him, saying, okay, this guy's picking on people with medical conditions. Okay, that's the kind of no class that he has, and that's what I would have done. I would have embarrassed him. I would have set him on fire. But hitting him, nah, that makes you look bad. But I would have shoved him aside, grabbed the mic, and I would have said, here's the issue. Okay, here's why you don't pick on people who have medical conditions. I mean, you wouldn't go up to what's his face, the gentleman who played in Game of Thrones, Dinklage. You wouldn't go up to Dinklage and say, "Oh, you're so short," He'll bite your kneecap off. So you don't do that. You just don't do that. Last thing to go. Many years ago, we went to a Swiss Chalet, which is neither Swiss nor chalet. It's a Canadian invention, but they figured because of the image of this little chalet nestled in the Alps, covered with snow, is a great connection with chicken. Like, I'm sure there are lots of chicken farms in the Alps, in these chalets, covered with snow. Fine. So anyway, we walk in, and this is a place that sells 95% of its stuff is chicken. And it was a Friday after school, after work. So we just said, we're just going to go out for supper, and we went to Swiss Chalet. And we ordered, and half an hour goes by, and we get our salads and drinks and stuff. And the waiter comes by again. He said, "Would you like more salad?" And bing, 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 something's wrong. And I said, "Okay, what's the story?" Because there are about 6 tables, and we all ordered white chicken meat. And the story was that the restaurant had run out of chicken. Okay. And we're all hangry and stuff like that. And he said, "Listen, I'll bring my manager over, and store manager, and she can talk to you." And she comes over, and she's like wringing her hands. And, well, what happened was the day cook couldn't come in, so the night cook came in. He did the order. He didn't order enough, and then this other guy threw his back out, and this one has a cold, and this one has, I don't know, bubonic plague, and this one, and they're shifting things around, and there wasn't enough ordered, and the truck broke down on the highway. So, I mean, they're shipping in a whole truckload of white chicken meat. And the image of that thing breaking down on the highway, just nothing but white chicken meat all over the highway. Where are the legs? So I asked her, and then we talked, and it's understandable, it happens. So I said, "Can I have your name?" And she says, "Well, it's Greek, it's hard to pronounce, it's hard to spell." And I said, "It's okay, we'll deal with it." She said, "My name is Mitsuris." Now, if you speak Yiddish, and I started laughing right away, and I was in hysterics, and she looked at me like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I'm sorry, beg your pardon, and I apologize, but in Yiddish, Mitsuris means with troubles, with heartache, with, a piano fell on my foot, and I tripped over my shoe, and my coffee leaked, and my door is stuck. I got trouble. Mitsuris. Mitsuris means trouble." And judging by all the things she was telling me, with this broke down and that broke down, and this guy had a bad back, a slipped hip, and bubonic plague, it just fit. Yeah, and I laughed. And anybody who speaks Yiddish will get the joke. And if you don't speak Yiddish, learn it. It's a great language. You can swear in Yiddish. That's for another time. Anyway, good to see you. You all look wonderful. Except you over there. Put something on. Get dressed. People get scared when I do that. "You can see me?" "Yeah, I can see you." Anyway, take care, and we'll see you next time. Hopefully it won't be a gap so long as this one has been. And again, be careful, because you still have COVID. Ford says, "Okay, everybody go back to normal. Oh, and by the way, we still have COVID." I don't get it. Anyway, we'll see you later.